So we're just going to run through some generalised checks that I do with all my new clients, and I'm not expecting to find any problems, but it's something that we do so that we get a general baseline of what we think is going on circulatory wise. So first of all, I normally check by checking pulses. Now a lot of people don't realise they've got pulses in their feet. But the two typical ones that we check for are the ones on the top of the foot here that I call the dorsalis pedis, and you'll be reassured to know yours are easily palpable. I can feel both of those. Then there's these ones, which are your posterior tibial pulses behind your ankle, and I can feel both of those ones. Now they're the easier ones to find usually because it's a bigger artery. Although if you get somebody that's got a swollen ankle, not so easy to find, but I can find them nice and easily on you. However, what I also like to do is check what they sound like. Let me just have a rummage in here. So this is some ultrasound gel, which you're probably familiar with because you've had children, haven't you? In fact, I think our sons have got the same birthday, 17th September. Oh, sorry about the squeakiness on there. So this, if I get it on the artery correctly, now testing my anatomical skills. There we go. So we're on that artery there, and you might be able to hear a triple sound. In the business, we call that sausages. Sausages, sausages, sausages. Which is very reassuring. That's the sound we want to hear. Sorry about the static. Let's check the other side. And we've got a nice triple sound there as well. Let's just have a listen to what they're like on your ankles. Now, why is sausages a good thing? So a triple sound indicates that you've got good elasticity in your blood vessels. When your heart pumps blood out and contracts, and it's pushing a big bolus of blood out through your aorta, it's pushing a volume of blood that causes your aorta to expand. Now, because your aorta is elastic, after that has finished contracting, then it recoils back again. And that is reflected in your pulsation sound. So it goes bump, bump, bump. That's the triple sound. So when we hear that, we're very encouraged because we know people have got really good flexible arteries, which is what we're after. And that's what you'll hear on a baby's heartbeat when they're detecting that with a similar machine. Let's have a listen to your tibial ones. Sausages, sausages. Excellent. And we've got a good rate there as well. So not only are we listening to the elasticity, but we're listening for the regularity. Is it a nice steady pulse, which yours is? It's not missing any beats, and it's a nice steady pace there. Fantastic. So you're alive, you'll be pleased to know, and that is sounding great. So now in people with poorer circulation, where they're losing some of that elasticity, the sound will be different. We get a biphasic sound in some people, which will be bump, 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 which means they haven't got the elastic recoil the same. And then in other people with really poor circulation, we get what's called a monophasic sound, where it sounds like this. And that's where basically, yeah, the heart's pumping, but the blood vessels have not got any flexibility at all, which is bad news and often indicates that, you know, they've got some kind of what we call peripheral arterial disease. However, if we see that in somebody that isn't already aware of it, then at least we can get them on the right referral path to get that addressed in terms of medication and stuff like that. So that's how we follow that one up. So that's great. You've got a great set of pulses there in your feet, which is very reassuring. Super duper. Okay then, Mandy, so again, part of the general checks that we do are for sensation. Now there's 3 areas of sensation that we check. One is vibration, one is the sensation between blunt and sharp, and then the other is light touch, which we do with what's called a 10-gram monofilament. You can probably barely see that there. It's a nylon fibre essentially, which exerts 10 grams of pressure. Now, why are we doing 3 particular tests for sensation? Well, it's because different nerve fibres do different jobs. So your pain receptors, detecting blunt and sharp, are different fibres to those that detect vibration, which are different fibres to those that detect light touch. So we're testing all of those things. I'm not expecting to find a problem with you because, again, you're a young, healthy person. However, again, because of our desire to make sure that we don't miss anything, we take a benchmark of people's sensation, so we know we've covered everything. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to go a little bit higher up for me there to do that. So I'm going to start with the 10-gram monofilament. So I'm just going to show you what this feels like on the top of your ankle there. You should just be able to feel that as a light touch.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the one, that's your benchmark, that's the one we're going to be testing against. I want to know if it feels any different to that. So without peeping, I want you to tell me when you feel that on your foot, please. Good.
No.
Anything there?
No.
Good.
No.
Good.
No.
Good.
No.
Excellent. And we'll do the other foot, same thing.
No.
Good.
No.
Excellent.
No.
Perfect.
No.
Good.
No.
Excellent. So everything on your forefoot is fine there. Now I've got 2 tuning forks here. Now which one shall I use? I'm going to use the big one. Unfortunately, my gradient on this one fell off some years ago, but I do like this one. So let me just show you what that feels like on your ankle. You should be able to feel that resonating in there. In fact, I'll show you a good trick with this later. In fact, I'll show it you now. Just put that on your forehead and you hear it resonating inside your skull. It's cool, isn't it? Anyway, it's a good party trick for the kids. Anyway, I digress. Oops. So, can you feel that on that joint there?
Yep.
Excellent. And can you feel it on that one there?
Yep.
Excellent. And that one there?
Yep.
Fantastic. And we'll go back to this one here.
Yep.
Lovely. And we'll go on to your other foot.
Yep.
Super. And that one.
Yep.
Good. And that one. And that one.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, why is that important? I'll explain why that's important. Vibration is one of those sensations that we call proprioception, which is just a fancy word to describe how all these bones in your foot communicate with your brain to let you know how your balance is and where you are in space. I mean, for example, your spine at the moment is communicating to your brain to tell you that you're sat up and that you need a certain amount of muscle tone to stay sat up, because if it relaxed everything, then you'd fall over. So it's the nerve fibres that detect the vibration between all the joints in the body, and particularly in your foot you've got 26 bones, so that's a lot of joints that detect that vibration sensation. Now, that is one of the things that does tend to deteriorate as people get older. Much older than you, I might add. But you know, when people get into the 70s, 80s, that sort of thing, and they're more likely to feel a little less well balanced and more prone to falling, that's one of the reasons, because vibration sensation often deteriorates with age. So that's that. And finally, Cyril, we need to check your sensation of sharp and blunt. Now, this is a neuro tip specifically for doing these kinds of tests. So, although it is sharpish, it's not that sharp that it's going to penetrate the skin. Okay, so again, I'll show you what it feels like on the top of your ankle there. Can you feel that one? How does that feel?
Yep, sharp.
Good. And this other side?
Yep.
What does that feel like?
Not as sharp.
Not a sharp blunter. Okay, so I'm going to mix them up a little bit so we can tell whether you can tell the difference between those two. Okay, so what's that one like?
Sharp.
Good. That one?
Sharp.
Good. That one?
Blunt.
Correct. Well done. That one?
Sharp.
Good.
Sharp.
That one? And that one?
Sharp.
Correct. And we'll go on to the other side here. We'll start on that one.
Blunt.
Yep. That one?
Sharp.
Good.
Sharp.
Very good.
Blunt. Sharp.
Yeah. Okay. Number 1. Number 2. Which one's the sharper?
That one.
Number 2. Good. Yeah. That one?
Sharp.
Yep.
Sharp.
Good. Tell you what, that's good for my tummy muscles sitting in that position. Super. So all of them check out to be perfectly normal. You'll be reassured to know. So that's cool. Now, what we want to look at next is you were telling me that you get a little bit of hard skin on here, and you're at the bottom of the list, aren't you, when it comes to attention?
Absolutely.
You're at the bottom of the list.
Feet certainly not.
Your feet are not getting terribly well looked after.
No.
But to be honest with you, when we look at them, they are in pretty good condition in terms of functionality. Your joints are moving around nicely, although I've just made that one click in moving it around there. Your range of motion is good. We've not got any kind of like problems. You've not got any kind of like curly bendy toes, although you've got a bendy toenail there. We'll come back to that. And on this foot here, let's just have a check on your mid-tarsal joint. Yep, your range of motion is moving around there nicely. But I notice you've got a bit of a curved nail here on this one. Tell me about that.
So I climbed Ben Nevis, and since I climbed Ben Nevis, I've had loads of problems with it. Nail went black, and then it sort of grew again. I had another half of a nail. And since then it's grown back. It's grown back different, and I've had loads of problems, and I still get pain from it if I get pressure. If there's pressure on the nail, it's still sore.
Really?
Yeah. So
how long is it since you climbed Ben Nevis now?
2 years.
2 years. Yeah. So did the original nail fall off?
No, I think it just kind of grew out.
Did it?
Yeah.
And was it bruised underneath, did you say?
It was black,
yeah. So there'd been some damage underneath.
Yeah.
And then this new one's grown through, and it's much more of a kind of a curved shape. And we do, we do see that. I mean, the history that you give me there, Mandy, is very consistent with the kind of problems that we see, which is where somebody has some kind of trauma, and it can be like you've just described. It can be where you've done some kind of activity that you're not necessarily used to. And in actual fact, it's probably the coming down from Ben Nevis that's giving you the problem rather than the going up. Because when you're coming down, your toe is hitting the end of the boot. Unless you're absolutely laced into it 100% spot on, you get this moving around. And so it's the descent that always gives people the problems. And we see it a lot. We do see it a lot. It's very common. But yeah, you are unlucky in the sense that it is curving all the way around, rather than some people get curvature of the nail there where it's kind of like flat across the top and then it's coming down at kind of like right angles at the side. But yours is more like a humpback bridge, I'm afraid, which is one of the kinds of things that gives people problems. So, you're not unusual in the fact that that's giving you issues as it's growing. And I also notice about your foot, if we sort of like let it into a relaxed position here, we've got quite a tight extensor hallucis longus tendon here, which is this structure you can see at the top of your foot there. And it is kind of pulling your toe up a bit. So when your toe is in your shoe, this joint here is kind of pointing the tip of your toe upwards a little bit, which means that this nail's going to get more pressure within your footwear as well, which is going to aggravate it really. So being aware of the space in your shoes to accommodate that is going to be the key. It can be, yeah. But don't worry, we can sort it out and make it more comfortable for you.